welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason.
Hello and welcome to the Skeptic Zone, episode number 351 for the 12th of July 2015. Richard Saunders here with you from the Bay Area, San Francisco, visiting friends and family, getting over a little bit of jet lag before I head off to the amazing meeting. And if you're coming to the amazing meeting, TAM in Las Vegas, TAM 13, I hope to see you, and I hope you come up and say hello. I'd love to meet you. Now, this week's show, as a result of my travels, is a little bit of a mix and match sort of show. We've got some great interviews coming up with Heidi Robertson, the Raw Skeptic. And really, I'm very pleased Heidi's doing more interviews. I think she's very good at it, folks. She's going to be speaking to Cath Hughes, who sadly lost a baby to whooping cough, pertussis. But some good news coming out of that, if there can be, there is. And after that, Heidi will talk to Chrys Stevenson. She caught up with Chrys Stevenson at Skeptic Camp in Brisbane with some news about how you can help somebody suffering from cancer at the moment. And let's hope it's a case of science to the rescue. After that, it's a couple of interviews I did last year at the a paranormal fair in Kashula. There'll be another one later in the year. More about that later in the year. I was interviewed by the website psychicreporter.com. And good on them for having a skeptic on their website so you can hear my interviews and my points of view as given to normally a psychic website, if that makes sense. After that, it's a week in science from our good friends at the Royal Institution of Australia, www.RiAus.org.au. I guess you should know that URL by now. And to wind up the show, to round off the show, it's something from 2009 when I was on TV debating astrology with one of Australia's foremost leading astrologers, Milton Black. How did I fare? How did I do? Find out towards the end of the show. But before we get stuck into the Skeptic Zone, a quick reminder that our good friends at the Canberra Skeptics, and they're very active, folks, www.canberraskeptics.org.au. And speaking about James Randi, on the 23rd of August this year at 1 p.m. at King O'Malley's Irish Pub, and that's a fun pub, they're going to be screening An Honest Liar, the wonderful film about James Randi, the film that Randy and I toured Australia with not so long ago. If you haven't seen this documentary, An Honest Liar, and you're in the Canberra area, well, why not go along? Again, visit www.canberraskeptics.org.au for more information. But now it's time for me to run upstairs, and have some more of that lovely clam chowder I love so much when I visit the Bay Area. Clam chowder in a sourdough bowl with a nice cold root beer. Oh, I do enjoy that. And while I'm enjoying that, I hope you enjoy the Skeptic Zone.
It's the Raw Skeptic Report with Heidi Robertson.
Recently on the Skeptic Zone, we reported on the protests held around Australia concerning the new government legislation coming in, which will see certain childcare benefits withheld from parents who decide not to vaccinate their children. The policy was reported in the media extensively, and the Daily Telegraph termed it the no jab, no pay policy. The protests were organised via Facebook and were termed the no jab, no pay, no way protests. Richard and some fellow skeptics attended and reported on the Sydney protest, whilst I, also with some friends, attended and reported on the Brisbane protest. It was difficult for me to remain calm at that protest whilst hearing shaken baby syndrome blamed on vaccination, along with all the other old, unsinkable rubber duck myths surrounding vaccination. What made it more difficult than usual was the fact that I went there directly from the Brisbane Exhibition Centre, where I had the privilege of helping out an amazing lady, Cath Hughes, at a stall at the Pregnancy, Babies and Children's Expo. I grabbed a quick interview with Cath, which we'll play now. The irony of having a protest across the Brisbane River about a perceived freedom of choice being taken away was gobsmackingly evident. As you'll hear, Cath and her husband Greg's baby Riley had no choice to start with. So here I am at the Brisbane Pregnancy, Babies and Children's Expo. And this expo is running over 3 days this weekend. And I'm here with Cath Hughes, who's manning the Light for Riley stall. Cath, how are you?
Good, thanks.
That's good. And can you tell us a little bit about Light for Riley and what the stall's all about?
Sure. Light for Riley began a couple of months ago after my baby son Riley passed away from whooping cough. 2 days after his death, the government announced that they would provide free booster shots for whooping cough for pregnant women in their third trimester. So we thought it would be ideal for us to be here at these baby expos to encourage all the pregnant women to make that choice and get their free whooping cough vaccine when they're pregnant.
It's an absolutely amazing thing that you've been able to do, to be here. You've already done the Sydney Expo, and I think next in a few weeks is the Perth Expo, so you'll be there as well. And I believe it's all at your own expense as well, just to raise awareness about the importance of the third trimester booster and that it's now available for women. So. And I had the pleasure yesterday of manning the stall with you. To be honest, I was standing back quite a bit, just staring at you with my mouth open. I couldn't believe that you were so brave and so willing to share your story so soon after little Riley passed away. And we're all right behind you, obviously, and we so much appreciate what you've done. You are no doubt saving other babies' lives. So. As well as that, Light for Riley is accepting donations. How can people... Well, first of all, what is the charity you've chosen to donate to for Light for Riley?
Riley passed away at Princess Margaret Hospital, so he had wonderful care there from the doctors and the nurses. So we decided to fundraise for the Princess Margaret Hospital Foundation, and we had the opportunity to meet with researchers and decide where the money is going. So far we've raised about $65,000, and we're funding a study that looks at antibodies of pertussis in the bloodstream and working out what makes somebody immune and what makes somebody not immune to pertussis, which will hopefully mean better scheduling for the boosters.
It sounds like an excellent place where people can donate some money. If the listeners would like to donate to that cause, Light for Riley, how might they go about that?
If you hop onto our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Light for Riley, there'll be a link there where you can make a donation.
Thank you so much, Cath, and good luck for today, last day of the Brisbane Expo.
Thank you.
And here I am with Chrys Stevenson, and we are at Brisbane Skeptic Camp. How are you, Chrys?
I'm really excited. I love Skeptic Camp.
Yes, so do I, and it was a great event last year at the same location, the Brisbane, what are we in? The
Hamilton Town Hall.
Hamilton Town Hall. It's a good location, and it looks like it's going to be a good turnout for it too. Now, Chrys, you haven't actually done the announcement yet, but and hence we're in this nice little office away from everybody. We're actually in the disabled loos here, so that no one can overhear us speaking.
We're only here for the acoustics.
Pretty good acoustics too. So can you tell us a little bit about this announcement that you're going to be making tonight?
Yes, I'm really excited about this. We've been working on a project for the last few weeks at getting various secular and atheist and skeptical communities together on a project that is really going to hopefully save someone's life. There's a lot of talk in the Christian community about how people without religion are unethical, immoral, less charitable, and we know that's not true. We have a member of our humanist, atheist, sceptical community here in Queensland called Jode Matthews. Jode was a founding member of the Sunshine Coast Atheists, and she helped with the editing of Warren Bonnett's Australian Book of Atheism. She and her husband Adam are both active, engaged members of the sceptical, humanist and atheist communities here in Queensland. And Adam himself is a cancer survivor. He had cancer for 13 years before going into remission 10 years ago. Jody's just 46 years old and she has stage 4B cervical cancer, and it's spreading to her other organs. And it's as bad as it gets. The good news is that there is some hope. There are 2 drugs that offer a really good chance for Jody to extend and possibly even save her life. The first one is called Avastin, but it's $20,000 a course. It's not covered on the public benefits, on the pharmaceutical benefits scheme. The second is a drug called nivolumab, and that is only available if Jody can get onto a drug trial run by Yale University Medical School in the United States. If she wanted to buy that drug, it's about $100,000. So even if we can get Jody onto that trial, she can't afford to go to the States. So they need somewhere between $40,000 and $80,000. And I think that we can raise it for them. So tonight we're announcing the Jode Matthews Cancer and Family Appeal. We have a website, jodematthewsappeal.com. That's JODE Matthewsappeal.com. And if you go to the website, you can read all about the Matthews story and their incredible fight against cancer. 3 members of the family, all stricken by cancer. And I think that we can get together and donate. And if you can't donate, promote the site and let's get our networking power going.
Yeah, it sounds like a very, very worthy cause, and for one of our own as well, an active members of the skeptical and atheist community. And I guess as well, it's heartening that people are not always looking for alternative treatments when it comes to cancer, as we've seen so often in the past with people promoting all sorts of quack cures. And this couple obviously realises that modern medicine is the way to go. And this is something that we can all do to back them up and support them in getting the best available treatment for her. So thank you, Chrys. And again, if people would like to donate to this very worthy cause, it's the Jode Matthews Appeal, JODE Matthewsappeal.com, or you can look for Jode Matthews Cancer and Family Appeal on Facebook, and please like us. Very good. And Chrys, enjoy Skeptic Camp today, and we'll catch up later.
Thanks, Heidi. Really looking forward to it.
Okay.
On maynard.com.au. Let's place Tim Ferguson right now in history as it's time for Tim's Historical Hypothetical.
Oh, I can't wait. I don't know what's going to happen. I never know with a hypothetical. Bring it on.
The year is 1928.
Ah, it's a hypothetical.
You are Fleming. Alexander Fleming.
Ah, who's that?
You go into your lab, it's 1928, and you're going into your lab. Your lab's often a jumble, and you've got a few petri dishes you've been doing a few experiments on, and you're just doing a bit of a clean-up. Things are a bit messy in there. Your lab's a bit of a jumble. You're straightening up a pile of petri dishes one morning where you'd been growing some bacteria which had piled up on the sink. You open up each one and you examine it before tossing it into the cleaning solution. And just as you're about to toss one of them into the cleaning solution, one of them makes you stop and say, "That's funny. There's mould growing on one of these dishes." Fleming, Alexander Fleming, what do you do?
Well, I use this information to commence what could only be described as the greatest hoodwinking of the entire planet. by suggesting that by growing this particular, well, let's call it what it is, penicillin, that I will somehow cause healing in the world. When really, as any dingbat stumbling down the street in Byron Bay will tell you, it was from the very beginning a gigantic conspiracy out of which I and many, many, many big companies have made trillions of dollars.
So you're saying the whole thing's a farce?
Oh, from the very beginning, the whole idea that you could give people a vaccine and somehow cure them was already bumpkin. I mean, I know that since 1928, the life expectancy of most people on the planet has doubled, but that's simply because of the hair care products.
So you're suggesting that the action of penicillium notatum is completely placebo, Tim?
Oh, completely placebo. It's not really working. Anybody who's ever had an antibiotic will be able to tell you it didn't work. Yes, I got better, in inverted commas, but what does that mean? Did you actually become a better person? I don't think so.
You're right. What can that mean?
That's Tim's historical hypothetical, where you learn something, maybe not.
Just one last word. And by the way, please vaccinate if you're going to be coughing over newborns.
On maynard.com.au.
In 2014, and as covered on the Skeptic Zone, it was my great pleasure to speak at the Australian Paranormal and Spiritual Expo at the Kashula Powerhouse. I'll be there again this year in a couple of months. More news about that soon. But while I was there last year, I was interviewed by the Psychic Reporter, www.psychicreporter.com. Now, this is a website, as you might imagine, normally interviews so-called psychics. Well, I was very pleased that they interviewed me to let me put my point of view. Here are those interviews, but if you feel so inclined, you can also check out some of the interviews with so-called psychics at psychicreporter.com. You might find them, shall we say, educational.
Hi, Richard. What's a skeptic?
Well, a skeptic, a lot of people think a skeptic is somebody who won't believe something, who's made up their mind and is out to prove that there are no such things as ghosts or psychics and things like that. That's the cartoon version of a skeptic. Where I come from being a skeptic is, I'll freely admit, I don't think there are ghosts. I don't think people can talk to dead people. But I am ultimately willing to change my mind if enough good evidence comes along. And that's the big thing a lot of people don't understand. We will change our mind. Science changes its mind every day upon getting new information. So that's what I try to do.
Yeah. Richard, regarding a skeptic, right, is that everything paranormal? Is that psychics included, ghosts, divining, entities, the whole game?
The whole kit and caboodle. Basically, any claim that contradicts the current understanding of the laws of physics. And all those claims contradict the current understanding of the laws of physics. The laws of physics are very well understood. They're robust. They survive repeated testing. They're tweaked every now and then. When we discover something new, we might say, well, in this case, this is a new information to science, and we'll fix this. So all those claims basically fly in the face of the well-known laws of physics.
Okay. And so, Richard, when we talk about skeptics, what do you think the average person thinks is a skeptic?
The average person will consider a skeptic to be somebody whose mind is made up, a closed-minded curmudgeon fool, somebody who won't accept something out of their comfort zone, who sits in their chair, their armchair, and whatever it is. And I've met some people like that, but we don't call those people skeptics, we call them believers.
So, Richard, when you see something, how is your mind? Is your mind neutral when you go in? Or are you looking, oh, no, this couldn't be true?
Well, ideally it would be neutral, but I'm human. I have preconceptions. If I go into somebody's, say, they talk to the dead and I'm going in, of course my preconception is, I don't think they can talk with the dead. I can't go in with a purely open mind. But I will go in and give them a fair go. I'll give them a fair opportunity to demonstrate talking to the dead, water divining, clairvoyance, whatever they want to show. But after all these years of investigation and testing, and nobody has yet come up to the mark, I naturally have preconceptions.
How long have you been a skeptic for?
Oh, well, officially about 13 or 14 years with the organisation, but trailing back some years into my 20s before then, just being interested in paranormal and UFOs and things like that, and slowly coming to the point of view of, well, if they're real, they should be every day. They should be known. There should be lots of evidence for it if it's real. Why isn't there overwhelming evidence for talking to the dead? Why is it that it doesn't stand up to testing? There must be a reason for that. That's why I became skeptical.
So Richard, when you see a psychic, and maybe they're a bit unique, what are your thoughts? Are there some things that you can't explain?
Of course. If I could explain everything, I would be a god. Of course there are things I can't explain. But the important thing to remember is things are unexplained but not unexplainable. Or things haven't been explained yet. And that's what science is all about. Science loves mysteries. Can't explain it? Well, let's investigate it. Let's get to the root cause of this. What's really going on? To date, I've been incredibly disappointed with every psychic I've ever seen in any context, because I know the psychological interplay of cold reading, and I know when there's even hot reading involved. So far, no one's been able to impress me.
What should you look for in a psychic?
That's a good question. I don't know what you should look for in a psychic, but what you should absolutely do is make a recording, an audio recording. Most smartphones can record things now. Record the session. Go home, wait a couple of days, write down what you remember, then listen to the recording back and make a note of all the times you are asked questions. And you might be surprised. So that would be my recommendation.
So when you say a question, it could also be a statement, couldn't it?
Yeah, well, a statement can turn into a question, or it can be cleverly disguised as a question. But yes, there are lots of statements, and people will remember the things that they can connect with, and will forget all the things that they don't connect with, or the vast majority of them. So if I say, and who had the little dog? There was a little dog? No, okay. But this person with the piano, all right, little dog went nowhere. Later on, the person will simply forget that the little dog was mentioned at all. We've seen it again and again and again. It's such an interesting area of psychology.
Thank you to PsychicReporter.com for, well, having a skeptic on your website.
The cosmos is amazing.
World-famous astrophysicist Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson is touring Australia this August. Inspirational, smart and funny, he'll take you on his personal tour of the universe.
There are still more questions to be explored.
Melbourne, Brisbane, Sydney and Canberra. Mark the date in your cosmic calendar for this once-in-a-lifetime experience. Tickets on sale now at thinkinc.org.au.
Welcome to A Week in Science from RiAus, bringing you the science you need to know. Does this sound familiar? Why is it that some of us roll over to sneak a peek at the alarm clock only to find it's about to go off? Why do some of us have this uncanny ability? It all boils down to your body wanting to be cruel to be kind. It's better to wake yourself up than to be jarred awake by an alarm clock. But how does that work? The cluster of nerves that controls your body clock is called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, and it's located in the hypothalamus. It responds to a wide range of stimuli, like darkness, to release hormones, like melatonin, that tell your body to wind down and make you sleepy. When you fall asleep, you experience sleep cycles of roughly 90 minutes, with several stages, including rapid eye movement, or REM sleep, which is when you dream. About an hour before you wake up, body temperature and blood pressure rise, and your brain releases the protein PER, which then releases stress hormones. This might sound like a bad thing, but it just makes your sleep lighter and lighter. There are two reasons why PER should start being released around about that time. You are either very regular in your sleep schedule, or you have an unusually early start coming up. Researchers proved this in a sleep study by telling some subjects that they'll be woken up at 6 a.m. and others that they'd be woken up at 9. They then woke everybody up at 6. The ones who were expecting a 9 a.m. wake up were groggy, while those expecting a 6 a.m. start had higher levels of stress hormones. But why do we wake up precisely as the alarm clock is about to go off? That's still a bit of a mystery. Here's 4 fast facts about your body clock. Your body clock is more technically known as your circadian rhythm. Animals and even plants have circadian rhythms. Altering your body clock, like when you have jet lag, is called entrainment. Your body temperature is lowest in the morning, just before you wake up, and highest in the late afternoon. That's it for this A Week in Science. For more information on circadian rhythms and your body clock, go to the RiAus website, riaus.org.au. Follow us on Twitter at RiAus and like us on Facebook. I'm Paul Willis, and we'll catch you back here next week.
2009 was the International Year of Astronomy. I was very pleased to contribute to the 365 Days of Astronomy podcast. As a coincidence that year, I was asked to appear on the Sunrise program in Australia, Sunrise morning TV program, to debate astronomy. I went to the TV studio and was seated in a funny area up near the control room. I'm not sure why. Below me in the studio was the host, David Koch, and somewhere else, by a video, was astrologer and psychic Milton Black. Now, I've had a lot of requests to play this clip on the podcast, although it's available on YouTube. If you just Google Richard Saunders Talks Astrology, you should be able to find the clip. But this is an occasion where I knew who I'd be talking with, or debating, if you'd like, and I prepared. Anyway, this was the result.
20 minutes to 9 o'clock. Well, plenty of people check their horoscope each day. While for some it's just a bit of fun, others plan their lives by it. But is there any truth to astrology and our stars? I'm joined by leading astrologer Milton Black and Richard Saunders from Australian Skeptics. Good morning to you both. Now, Milton, astrology began thousands of years ago when people looked at the stars, but is there much truth to it that you can run your life by it?
Well, you don't actually run your life by it. You actually look at it as a guide, basically. Planets influence, but they don't compel you to do things. And all an astrologer is basically is a navigator. It's like going to the Sydney to Hobart yacht race. The navigator says, we turn right here, we tack there, we do this. And an astrologer does exactly the same in the Sea of Destiny.
Okay, but that means there's a link between your life and the stars.
Yes, there is. As far as astrologers are concerned, there is. It's not a mundane science like some skeptics think it is. It's basically an art. And what the astrologer is doing is putting the stars or the planets into a pattern in their destiny and interpreting them and giving them an idea of they're going in the right direction or not.
All right, Richard, the moon affects the tides. Is there any possibility the stars and the planets could affect us?
To a minute degree. In fact, the camera you're looking at right now has far greater effect on you in any physical sense than all the planets combined. But it's interesting, this is the International Year of Astronomy. So, Milton, it's time to put down your horoscope and pick up your telescope. Astronomy shows us the universe of wonder and beauty and excitement far greater than any psychic or astrology fantasy.
Well, Richard, I'll just explain. I thank the astronomers sincerely, because if it wasn't for their ephemerises that they put out, astrologers would be out of business. It's as simple as that.
No, astrologers would keep going no matter what. We call them unsinkable rubber ducks.
We've got to basically know where the planets are, and it's the astronomers that actually put the ephemeris out and tell us what position that planet is in at that time. And that's important, because if we don't know that, we can't predict.
Oh, yes, you can. You could just make it up as you go along.
I wish we could.
But hang on. But Milton, some of the astrology predictions that you read in the paper and magazines just seem so general, they could apply to anyone.
Yes, I agree with you entirely on that, Koshi, because, look, the magazines and the papers are basically an entertainment type of situation and give you a guide on the sun signs for the day or the week. But you've got to go to a professional astrologer, sit down, work out the time of birth, the place of birth, the longitude and latitude, where that person was born. Then the astrologer gets down to the nitty-gritty and can tell you all about yourself.
Okay, all right. We put you to the test. We've given you Richard's chart, all the details. Now tell us, what does it show?
Well, actually, you haven't given me Richard's chart at all. What you've given me is Dr. Martin Bridgebird's chart. And this is what I did with Martin. So I'm going to tell you about Martin, not Richard.
Well, and Milton, what use is that? I mean, you can say anything you like, and he's not here to correct you?
No, I didn't get to... You see, I spent all last night doing the birth date of Martin's horoscope. And, of course, I got his correct time, his date of birth, and everything.
Well, that's really strange. Milton, you're also billed as Australia's leading psychic. Didn't you know it would be me today?
No, that's not true. The thing is, you always look
you're
for the
not Australia's leading psychic? It says that on your website.
More of an astrologer and psychic, I suppose they put the two together. Okay, just off the top of my head, what's your birthday?
Who is Martin?
Dr. Martin Bridgestock is a leading skeptic from Queensland, but he's not here. How can he possibly confirm or deny anything that Milton comes up with?
Well, that's the birth date I was given. And I thought he was going to be on this morning. So I'm sorry about that. Richard, what's your birth date? Let's take it from the top of the head.
My birth date is the 28/11/65, the 28th of November. That makes me a what?
Okay. All right, makes you a Sagittarian?
No, it doesn't, Milton. That is where the sun was at the moment I was born. The sun is clearly in the sign of Scorpio. How can you get it that wrong?
No. It's you're a Sagittarian. Now, he's got Scorpio on the ascendant. That's what you've got. Born at, 4 o'clock in the morning?
How did you know that? Because that's the information I gave to the producers.
Well, there you go. Just refine that. Now, actually, what you see with Richard is not what you really get, because deep down, he's quite a secretive type of person. Now, as a kid, he actually drove his teachers, his parents, everybody crazy. And the reason for this is because he's got an inquisitive mind. Now, he's a very nostalgic guy. He lives in the past a little bit. But the fact is, that's fine. But he's basically a guy that always wants to know, very, very curious. But the trouble is, he's always looking for things, Koshi. Now, if I met Richard, say, in about 6 years up the track and said, "Hi, Richard, how are you going?" He said, "Fine, thanks, Milt. Have you found what you're looking for yet?" He says, "No, but I'm still looking around the corner here," because he's always looking for something new to do. And I think, basically, on that date, he's got a good horoscope.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. But, Milton, if you're such a good astrologer, why are you using cold reading and Barnum statements? I mean, any magician can do that. We've got books that teach you how to do exactly the statements you've just told me now.
Actually, Richard, when you're a
statements.
professional like me, 40 years in the business, you can come to these situations very quickly.
I see. All right, listen, Milton, I'm going to challenge you directly. We can give you the birth dates of six people who believe in astrology, and we can see how accurate you are. Will you take me up on that challenge?
Oh, not this morning, I won't, because I'd have to sit down and do the charts for you, Richard.
In the future.
In the
future, I'd be very happy. Very happy in the future. I can tell you all about those people.
We'll check back later in the week or next week and see how you go. All right, guys. We'll check back with you then. Thanks for joining us this morning.
You're welcome.
If you'd like more information on Milton's astrology or Australian skeptics or who on earth Martin is, details are on our website. I'm just as confused. After 9 on the morning show, festive food.
From the Skeptical Society of St. Louis. On Saturday, August the 22nd, The Skeptical Society of St. Louis will be holding the region's third Skeptic Camp at the Ethical Society starting at 9 a.m. This year's event includes presentations on topics as diverse as anti-vaccination, creationism, neurology, climate change, financial skepticism, child psychology, the Fukushima disaster, incorporating skepticism and critical thinking into the classroom, the psychology of magic, solar energy, stuff your massage therapist tells you, anthropology, non-profit myths, and more. We will also be presenting a screening of The Vaccination Chronicles by Richard Saunders. Oh, that's me. Pizza will be available. Oh, I'll repeat that. Pizza will be available for lunch, and there will be skeptics in the pub following the event. A silent auction for a signed copy of Bill Nye's latest book, Undeniable, and skeptical/scientific jewellery from Ceramics will be available for purchase. The auction and a portion of the proceedings from the jewellery will help the Skeptical Society of St. Louis continue to promote science and critical thinking in the St. Louis community. The event is free and open to the public. You can find more information about the event at the website www.skepticalstl.com/skepticamp or by searching for Skeptical Society of St. Louis on Facebook or Meetup. Let's hope for a big turnout on Saturday, the 22nd of August. Thank you for listening to the Skeptic Zone this week. A little bit of a mix and match episode. Next week, the Skeptic Zone will come to you from the amazing meeting, or just after, or just before, depending on time zones. I'm not sure how it works sometimes. I hope to interview all sorts of people at the amazing meeting, from delegates to special guests to scientists to who knows. Who knows? It's always a surprise. And again, if you're at the amazing meeting, please come up and say hello. There'll be a Skeptic Zone table, which I hope to be at for a lot of the time when I'm not busy doing panels or workshops or whatever else. And there'll be other Australian skeptics for you to meet as well. Looking forward to it as I do every year. But for now, this is Richard Saunders signing off from the Bay Area, San Francisco. You've been listening to the Skeptic Zone podcast. Visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for contacts, an archive of all episodes since 2008, and our online store. Please support the Skeptic Zone by following us on Twitter at Skeptic Zone, liking us on Facebook, and leaving a review on iTunes. You can also show your support by subscribing via PayPal for as little as 99 cents a week. The Skeptic Zone is an independent production. The views and opinions expressed on the Skeptic Zone are not necessarily those of Australian Skeptics Inc. or any other skeptical organisation.